Starting right now, we fight back, and we fight back hard.
At some point in your life, you come to a stage where you have to say this far and no more. Our characters in Babylon 5 have been pushed against the wall again and again and again, where they hit the stage where they say, we won't be pushed back anymore. We're going to fight, and we're not going to give up. No surrender and no retreat. The journey of John Sheridan is the classic hero's journey. The hero often ends up going into darkness, dying, being reborn, and coming back in a newer and better form.
One of my favorite lines, was it Sheridan? We thought you were dead. And I say, I was, but I'm feeling much better now.
Sheridan was in a very vulnerable position, having died, basically. And Lorien became a mentor to his character.
It's easy to find something worth dying for. Do you have anything worth living for?
He had to go to places that we don't often think of a heroic character going, in terms of being vulnerable, in terms of expressing doubts and not knowing what's going to happen.
Shadows took the bait. There's no turning back now.
For me, the point where all of our stories came together and interwove and paid off finally was year 4.
We were ready to do a huge action season, which included 2 wars. The War on Earth, the Great War, and the Shadow War.
This conflict between the Shadows and the Vorlons, trying to bring about a greater conflict that would weed out the lesser races and turn up another ratchet, the evolution of the galaxy. That was having an effect on Earth. So, okay, before you could deal with Earth, the bigger issue had to be solved.
I knew that the Earth War would have to be resolved through conflict and through big action pieces and set pieces. The Shadow War, to me, was different in that it really was, at its core, a war over ideologies, and it could not be ended in a big conflagration because between them, they could wipe out everybody on every planet. We had to appeal to them on their own level.
We know who we are now. We can find our own way between order and chaos. It's over because we've decided it's over. Now get the hell out of our galaxy!
Some of the fans thought that was an odd way of doing it, but to me it was the more satisfying of the two emotionally. Knowing also behind the scenes that what was coming up in the Earth War would give them all the action they could possibly want.
Decided to resign as head of security, effective immediately.
It was kind of cool going over to the dark side. I like that because, you know, my character was like always towing the company line and then, you know, getting in there with Bester and the whole mind twisting thing and Mars and, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
The one fun scene I know Jerry talks about is the time that we have a very heated confrontation in the Zocalo, and he turns and he just cracks me on the jaw and knocks me to the floor.
I said let her go!
And then we're mortal enemies.
Bruce is still pissed off that we didn't have another season because I decked him, and still to this day he's like, oh, man, I never got a chance to hit you back, knock you out. He's at a one shot, I'd take you down.
Start packing. We'll leave in a few days.
Where are we going?
Mars.
Season 4 is probably one of the most exciting seasons for me, simply because the Doctor got to get out of the med lab, and now I got to play like secret agent guy, a part of all of that espionage and underground and number 1 and all of that stuff.
Why the hell should I believe anything you have to What do you know about hell? Would you like me to show it to you?
Lita was discovering her power in front of you. A lot of stuff wasn't planned. A lot of stuff came out of necessity. She would find a power and go, oh, that felt good.
We're taking back Proxima 3. We're taking back Mars. Then, we're gonna take back our home.
The last part of the season is really that conflict with Earth and bringing it back home again. They take down President Clark. It's about where is the morality of following orders. If you are given an order that you feel is not appropriate, as Sheridan says to the other captains, at some point you have to draw a line and not do those things. So what ultimately triumphs is not just the power of guns, but the moral authority of someone who says you're doing something wrong, you have to stop it.
It's not the role of the military to make policy.
Our mandate is to defend Earth against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, Clark has become that enemy.
It's often the person who says the most damaging things who's being the most patriotic.
Anyone special waiting for you back home?
No, not anymore. You?
someone. She doesn't know it yet.
The Marcus Cole character, that goes back to the unrequited love thing. And he was madly in love with her to the point where, yes, he gave up his life for her.
He thought it was more important for her to be in the world than himself at the end. So he gave his life in order that she might live. And the only time he ever said it was his last words to an Ivanova who can't even hear him. I love you. And then passes his entire life force into her.
It was a very hard thing to kill off that character, and had I known in year 4 that Claudia would not return in year 5, I might have rethought that decision and kept him around.
Welcome home, John. Welcome home.
Season 4 was where we were hit the time where the show was the most pulled together, the most mature. It was quite exciting because everyone was contributing their utmost.
All the seeds we've planted before about the Earth situation and President Clark and Night Watch comes into the foreground here. The Shadow War is resolved. It is the high point, dramatically in many respects, of our series. For me, this was the season where it all had to come together. All the parts and pieces come home to roost.